The second thing we're going to talk about is taping. When do you tape your hands? Why do you tape your hands? Okay, same concept. A lot of the times what happens is when you put this chalk on, you start grabbing on the pull-up, get these calluses that are formed, and that's fine. That's going to happen anytime you're kind of rubbing that hand on the barbell or the pull-up bar. So when you tape your hands, all that does is it gives you like a little protective layer so you don't rip those calluses off. Okay, it's like gymnasts. You see those guys, they've got these cool little wrists. See, I just did the chalk thing I talked about. They got these cool little wrist things. And the whole purpose of that is so they're not swinging back and forth on the pull-up bars and ripping hands. So have chalk, looks like this. This is what happens whenever we use a lot of chalk at the gym. I mean tape, sorry, I said tape. So what you do is, you rip this tape up, you go in long pieces, okay? The first thing we're gonna do is make gymnastic straps. See if I can do this right. Follow me this way. So, you would rip off a long piece of tape, fold it over, so you're folding that in half, and you make a long strip, just like that, all right? The reason we're doing this is, what you're gonna do with this tape is you're gonna wrap it around your finger, and then you're gonna pull it down tight, so that it forms almost a little protective layer over these calluses that are made. So once you have that piece, you can stick with just one piece. I personally like to go with another one, so I'll make another one that exact same size and wrap it around that other finger. Okay. So reasons we use tape. Like I said, it's one of two things. One, it either helps protect you from ripping your hands. Two, it covers up any rips you might already have. And three, it makes it a little more comfortable while you're grabbing the bars or grabbing the pull-up bars or grabbing the barbell, especially if you've been doing a lot of bar work throughout that week. So that's a big reason for making the straps for the hands, palm of the hands. So now that I have these two pieces, like I showed you to begin with, you'll make that first one, and it's just looping it around the middle finger, and you get it all the way down. That could probably be a little bit longer, but that's a comfort thing. So you make those two. Okay, those two straps are going to fit right over the, like I said, the palm of your hand. And the reason you make those two and you put those two there that's the most commonly torn spot. The callus is right across the top of the hand, and some people, depending on how you grip the pull-up bar, will rip right here in the middle of the hand. So that just kind of protects that whole main part of grabbing a pull-up bar or a barbell. Okay, so once you have those two, you can kind of take them once you fit them. Roll them into little ribbons. You can tell I was never really good at making ribbons or tying shoes for that matter. So once you have that second piece, this piece of tape goes over the top. This just holds those two pieces that we just made together. And you rip it off there. You can go a second piece if you like. Again, this just gives you a little extra padding, and it gives you something to hold those two straps together. All right, so now that I have this, get that finger in there on both sides. So you got your ring finger, your middle finger, and then that sits across. Get your little CrossFit rings. So that would sit just across like that. That's not too great of a job, but it's gonna work and serve the purpose. So once you have this, you would take a piece of tape, wrap it around your wrist so that this stays in place. And now, see if we can get this taken care of. So now that I have that, if I grab a pull-up bar or if I grab a barbell, that's gonna be that protective portion. Okay. So that sits, and that's gonna keep my hand from, or excuse me, that's gonna keep the friction from causing my hand to rip even more. It's gonna protect those calluses, those spots that I tend to rip on the most. All right, so now when that hand's on that bar and it's kind of moving around a lot, that tape's gonna be your protection. All right. The good thing about these is once you're done, you take that piece of tape off around your wrist, you can hang on to that and use that again. Okay, those are multiple uses, and rather than just making one, throwing it away, and constantly taking the time to make those. So that's first reason for tape. Second reason for tape, and excuse me, second reason for tape, this is a little more common. Anytime you do overhead, whether it's overhead squat, push jerk, push press, we very rarely ask ourselves to be in this position with a lot of weight overhead, so it's a lot of extra pressure on that wrist. Okay, if you have tight forearms, tight triceps, that wrist can be pretty tender to begin with. So all you do is you take this tape, you wrap it right around that wrist. Okay, and it's where you'd put a watch at. no big secret to where you tape this. And then this you're gonna tape depending on a comfort level to you. Okay, you don't want it too tight, because it's gonna cut the circulation off in your hand, then you look like Thing from Addams Family. But you want it tight enough that it's gonna give you support. Okay, once you do that, just kind of rip that piece off. Now you got little makeshift wrist guard, and then that's gonna help. You can tell that's already restricting the range of motion I have in that wrist, but that'll also help protect that wrist if it's a tender wrist when I'm going overhead for a push jerk, for a push press, for a strict press, or for an overhead squat. Okay. The one downside to this is you got to be smart with this, because if you're doing something that's overhead and you got to do a push-up, it's going to be a restricting factor in your push-up. So that's something to take into consideration when you're taping your wrist. Okay. So 2 things: chalk. Remember those rules, those things we talked about with chalk. Tape for the gymnastics portion, the pull-ups, the barbell, and then for the tight wrist. Okay. We're gonna keep getting you guys videos with little things, little tips around the gym. So make sure you stay tuned. If you have any feedback on any of this stuff, feel free to let us know, and we'll get that taken care of. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.